Mr. Bean might be the most iconic comedy character ever, played brilliantly by Rowan Atkinson. So when I found out there were only 15 episodes made, I was a bit surprised, but I also thought that this was entirely rankable. So that's what I'm going to do. And yes, I know there is an animated show with like 100 episodes, but today I'll only talk about the live action episodes. If this video gets enough likes, I'll consider ranking the animated episodes. The bottom place on our list goes to this compilation of the best Mr. Bean sketches. It's not bad. Bean walks around over his attic and finds objects that remind him of earlier parts of the series. It's not bad, but because it's a compilation, it had to be at the bottom of my list by default. I really dislike Back to School Mr. Bean. Bean has always been annoying and a bit of a dick, but in this episode he is just making fun of people, their hobbies. It feels really mean-spirited. Bean is back at his old school and follows some classes, and the comedy falls completely flat for me. There's this drawing class, but there's a nude model, and of course that scares Bean. The worst sketch is that after gym, Bean, his pants get switched and he chases the guy down and takes his pants back by force. The episode ends with Bean, his car, getting crushed in a military showcase by a tank, and he's really sad. The second Mr. Bean episode might be lower on this list, but it's still really good. We start with Mr. Bean going to the store and trying out everything before he buys it. The sketch really gets going when Bean, his bank card, gets switched with another dude and he tries to replace it without him noticing. It gets more absurd as it goes on. The restaurant sketch is easily the highlight of the episode. Bean is dining in a really posh restaurant, only he does not like the food. He tries to hide it in the flowers, the bread, and even a random woman her purse. All his hijinks get him a new table where he gets served the exact same food. Unfortunately, the third sketch isn't that great. Bean is waiting to meet the queen, but he is nervous and his nerves cause him to knock out the queen. I did not really find this one that funny. The iconic Christmas episode. I just do not like this episode that much. Don't get me wrong, the part where Bean gets his head stuck in a turkey is hilarious, and Bean giving Teddy a new set of eyes on Christmas morning is really cute. But the rest of that episode isn't that funny. Bean first tells his own version of the Christmas story with toys. He adds aliens and a T-Rex, it's really weird, and after that he leads an orchestra and steals a giant Christmas tree. I just did not think that was funny. Hereby Mr. Bean of London is the last real episode of Bean, and let's just say it's good Bean ended here, because it's clear that Bean has passed its prime here. The first sketch is the best. Bean is getting a haircut, but the cutter has to take the phone, and that's when Bean decides to cut the hair of all the other customers, and that goes wrong, of course. After this, Bean goes to a pet show where he competes with Teddy, and since Teddy isn't alive, well, he listens very well. Both of these sketches are fine, but clearly not as great as Bean has been before. The first Mr. Bean episode immediately showed how great this was going to be. Bean takes an exam and he tries to cheat off of his neighbor. It is great physical comedy, and the reveal that Bean is making the wrong exam is really funny. It's a great sketch, followed by maybe one of Bean's best. He goes to the beach and wants to change into his swimming gear, but there's a guy, so Bean does everything to prevent the guy seeing him change, only for the reveal that the other guy is blind. It's great. The last sketch is just Bean going to church and secretly trying to eat candy and trying to stay awake. It drags the episodes a bit down for me. Overall, this episode still has some growing pains. It doesn't really have a storyline like some of the best episodes, and Bean talks a bit more than usual. They were still figuring it out, but for a pilot, it is really good. The Do-it-yourself Mr. Bean is a really frustrating one. The highlight of the episode is Bean buying too much at a sale. He buys a chair, he puts it on the roof, but he has so much that it doesn't fit in the car. Bean climbs on the rooftop and trying to steer his car with ropes and sticks is really funny. Bean trying to paint his room white by putting a firework bomb in the paint is also weird but funny. Unfortunately, we also have the New Year's Eve sketch that isn't that great, and my god, the music cues in these episodes are way too much. So an episode with high highs and low lows. Mr. Bean Goes to Town takes place in, you guessed it, his bedroom. Bean has bought a new TV that only works when he is sitting facing away from the TV. So Bean strips naked and places the clothes on a chair to trick the TV into working. It's really better than it sounds. And after that, Mr. Bean goes to the park. Bean gets robbed of his camera. In the police station, they place garbage cans over the suspects' heads, and Bean pokes them with a pencil. Again, it sounds worse than it is. And after that, Bean finally goes to town with his date. They go to a magic show where Bean of course gets picked to be a part of the show. After that they go to a nightclub. Oh, and also Bean his date is dancing with another dude. Am I actually feeling sad for Mr. Bean here? In Mind the Baby, Mr. Bean, Bean has to look after a baby at a fun fair, and as you expect, a lot of hijinks follow. Bean takes the baby in attractions, has to change the diaper and get into a fight with a dog. I really like when Bean leaves the baby in a postman's pet car for like 10 rounds while he goes on a roller coaster. It's really funny how they cut between Bean feeling sick in the coaster and a line forming for the postman's pet car. I also like where by accident Bean ties too many balloons to the baby and it flies through the air, but Bean shoots the balloon, saving the baby and becoming the hero. I do have to say this episode is solid, but it doesn't have a great sketch like the episodes higher on this list. Mr. Bean Rides Again is the weird emo episode of Mr. Bean, cause holy shit it is dark. The episode starts with Mr. Bean having to revive a guy who got a heart attack. He revives the guy with car cables. Bean also has to take care of a sick kid in the plane who uses his puke against Bean. Okay. While packing for the holiday, Bean has to pick only the small things, so everything fits in a suitcase. He almost cuts Teddy up to make him fit, like damn. Oh, Bean also gets randomly locked in a mailbox. Like, damn, this episode is so fucking dark. That I liked it says a lot about me. Tea of Mr. Bean is perfectly fine. It starts out with Bean being bullied during laundry, but he switches the bully soap with coffee to mess all his clothes up. Where this episode shines is with the mini golf part, because during a game of mini golf, Bean his ball gets out of control, taking him from a bus to the sewers to a garbage truck. Bean does everything to hit the ball back to the golf course, without him touching the ball with his hands. He does this in 3,400 hits. Well, that's commitment. We are now getting into the great episodes. In Goodnight Mr. Bean, Bean has to go to the hospital, and he's a dick to all the patients. This could have become mean-spirited, but it ends up with another patient stealing his ticket. After that, Bean has fun trying to make a picture with the royal guard. He completely dresses him up, but he just walks away. My favorite part is where Bean is getting ready for bed. He reads with Teddy, that's so cute, and him counting sheeps and watching Chester fall asleep is such a Bean thing to do. Oh my god, this episode is so fucking good. It all starts with Mr. Bean sleeping through his alarm. This episode is also where we get introduced to Teddy, Mr. Bean his loyal companion. To be on time at the dentist, he changes while driving his car. Honestly, this is not only funny, but straight up fucking impressive. At the dentist, Bean of course has to play with everything and by accident gives the dentist anesthesia so he gets knocked out. Bean, to save time, does his own dentist checkup. Listen, this is one of the best sketches in all of Mr. Bean. After this, Bean goes to the park. There he repairs the remote of a motorboat, but for some reason the remote also controls an old lady her wheelchair. So while Bean is playing with the boat, you see the wheelchair going in the back, It is hilarious. We end with Bean fighting a fly, setting up the Rowan Atkinson fighting insects universe. This episode is phenomenal, but there are more phenomenal Bean episodes. The Curse of Mr. Bean might be the funniest episode. We start at the pool where Bean is afraid to dive, and Rowan Atkinson gives his all, giving one of the best physical comedy performances I have ever seen. We follow this by Bean not wanting to pay for the parking, so he goes with a desperate solution and rams a car away. Then Bean makes a sandwich in the park that goes so insane that I'm surprised the other actors could keep a straight face. We end with Bean and his date seeing A Nightmare on Elm Street in the cinema, Bean being scared and doing everything not to see the movie. Every sketch in this episode is hilarious, making this a frequent rewatch for me. This is my favorite Mr. Bean episode, and it isn't even close. Bean takes a nice holiday to a hotel room, but he has to make the room nicer, bringing his own curtains and lampshades. When he has no bath, well, just cut a hole in the wall and use the one of the room next to him. Bean gets also sick from some oysters and ends up locked out of his room naked. He has to sneak through the hotel trying to find the key. The funniest part is the staircase, where a really slow walking lady is in front of him. Bean acrobatically swings by her, only for there to be another slow walking guy. It is by far the best scene of Mr. Bean, making that this episode overall is the best. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and come back next Wednesday for another video.